So I was sitting on my desk on a quiet Tuesday morning, just in my office, and my boss, she just walked in, sat down, and proclaimed very decidedly, I have an idea, but you have to be up for it. I was nervous. She was the chief human resources officer in my organization, and just a week earlier, she had fired my boss. Um, what's your idea? I nervously asked. She said, I want to promote you into Drew's position temporarily to see how you do and if you like it. Now, Drew's position meant leading a team and working in a field that I had exactly 3 months of experience in, instead of the 7 to 10 years of experience typically expected. I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. I was stunned. I was excited, totally overwhelmed. Like all the thoughts and the feelings were just buzzing through my mind. Like, who am I to lead a team? I've never done this work before. And what if I fail? I didn't know what to do. But in case we haven't met yet, I'm Heidi Campbell, and I'm passionate about helping female leaders feel confident and prepared to step into leadership roles and add empathic, direct, competent, and distinctly female touch to conference rooms and C-suites that so badly need it. I'm also a firm believer that leadership is a skill and that all of us, no matter what role we're playing in life, from a vice president to, if you're a vice president in a massive corporation, or you're an aspiring student, if you're a mother, an entrepreneur, or just a volunteer in an organization, we are all, and I shouldn't say just a volunteer, if you are volunteering, we are all leaders. But this workshop is especially for you if you have been recently promoted into a new leadership role and want to start off in the best way possible. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed by some of what you have on your plate, if you are looking forward in your career and you start realizing that you're dodging positions where you're leading a team, you're kind of trying to circumvent that management, but you know that you're up against that wall and you're not going to be able to move forward unless you lead a team, this workshop is for you. This workshop's for you if you've been leading a team for 20 years, but you still get weak in the knees when it's time to give some difficult feedback. And you're not always sure that you're going where you want to go. The truth is that all of us are leaders, and leadership is a skill that's evolving, and our confidence in our leadership abilities is always going to evolve too. Every new challenge presents a new fear, and so we're going to be working with that. But before we dive into the 5 actionable steps that I promised you, I want to start off with a story. Let's call her Emily. And as I talk about Emily, I want you to think about your own career and your own experience. You may relate to Emily 100%, or maybe just a little bit. Emily is actually a compilation of many of my clients. She embodies the themes that I see over and over again. It's a story I hear again and again, and I think it's an important one to share. So Emily is bright. She always knew she wanted to be independent, to provide for herself, to do meaningful work and have a career. And she did all the things that led to that. She went to college, she got her training, she started in her organization, and finally, she started to have that dream professional life that she had always wanted. And there was so much that she loved about her work. She loved her coworkers. She got along with one of her bosses really well. Maybe not so much the other one. The other one she found a little difficult and over demanding. In theory, her position sounded so purposeful in everything she wanted to do. But the day-to-day work didn't always feel that good for her. And she never really felt like she was able to bring her best self to the table and just shine. She spent a lot of time feeling unseen, overlooked, overworked, and even marginalized, like on the edges. How is she ever going to promote and make an impact? She didn't know. So after a few years, Emily starts looking around again. She becomes more active on LinkedIn and in her professional communities. She's got a beautiful resume. She starts attending a networking group, and voila, a new opportunity presents itself. It's more money, yay, and an incredible organization. And she happily transitions into her new job. And then again, once the gloss is worn off, she finds herself in a great on paper, but a lackluster position when it comes to the day-to-day work. Again, she's starting to feel unseen, overlooked, overworked, and even marginalized. And this time she has a team to manage while she navigates it. It's really, really easy to focus on the outward position, on the outward trappings of a confident leader. The position, the salary, the job description, the organization that values you, and trying to find something external that you can step into. But we're going to do this the other way around. And this is the way that I work with all of my clients. We are going to start from the inside out. And so I want to start now by reading a quote. I love this quote from Martha Graham. There is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there's only one of you, in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium and will be lost. This applies to each of you, and it applies to me. We all have a unique contribution to make. And the sooner we step into it and thrive in it, the better off the world is, and the better off we will feel in our lives and what we're doing. So the first thing I want to do, get out your journals, this is our first exercise, is I want you to think of a leader that you admire. And I want you to write down their name, who it is, and then some of the traits that they embody, the things that they do. How do they walk in the room? How do they greet people? What are some of their accomplishments? If somebody who didn't know them at all asked you to describe them, how would you do that? So go ahead and just take a minute, write down their name, and then just write down a basic description of them. Okay. How's it going? Just a basic description. It doesn't have to be detailed. What would you think if I told you that the qualities that you admire in someone else are also the qualities that you share with them, even if they're still underdeveloped? You may not be experts at that yet, but it's something that's already within you. So now I want you to just look at the leader that you chose and just for a second, consider the ways that you are already like them. Think about how have you shown up in your life with those particular qualities? Just make a note of that. It's amazing, isn't it? It's really cool. We are naturally drawn to leaders who are a reflection of ourselves. And so there is something in you. You see yourself in them. You relate to them, and that is within you. And just that alone, just realizing that or thinking about that can transform. That can be such a good catalyst for your own leadership confidence. Okay, now I want you to think about a time when you feel confident or you have felt confident. What were you doing? Or if you feel confident regularly, what do you do when you're confident? Are you speaking in front of a large room? Are you quietly listening to a friend who has a problem? Is it when you're digging in your garden? Are you creating a project plan? Are you a master in Excel, setting up all the formulas so everything calculates and works just right? What are you doing when you feel the most confident? And I want you to think about that. Madame Curie said, life is not easy for any of us, but what of that? We must have perseverance and above all, confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted. Emily is always waiting for a boss or someone external to recognize her, promote her, validate her, and ask her for her input. It all feels great when that happens. It's amazing. We love it. We love to be noticed. We love to be validated. But this is one of the main takeaways I want you to take away from today. Believing in yourself is the first step for other people to view you as a confident leader. I'm going to say that again. Believing in yourself is the first step for other people to view you as a confident leader. In fact, vision is one of the key qualities that I work on with my coaching clients and with the people that I work with. And having that vision and seeing something that nobody else thinks is there is critical in being able to be a leader. You see it first, and then you get to show everybody else what's possible. So, in order for you to be a confident leader, to see yourself as the leader that you already are and that you can be, we're going to go through those 5 actionable steps I promised. So, step 1 is to actually recognize your own strengths. And we did a little bit of that in the activity earlier, but I want you, there's a few ways that you can do it. And this is definitely a take-home exercise if you just want to take some notes on what you can do. I think it's a really, really fun idea, and I got this from Marie Forleo, is you can reach out to 3 to 10 close friends and just ask them. And here's what you want to ask them. What do I do so naturally that I may not even realize it's a strength? And you just let them know you want some help, you're working on a project, and ask them, what do I do so naturally that I may not even realize that it's a strength? People love to answer this question, and you're going to start to see themes. You will see it for sure. Another way that you can recognize your own strengths is by taking a personality or behavior test. There are quite a few, and a lot of workplaces do them. I know in my workplace we use DISC often. Myers-Briggs is a common one. Gallup, Clifton Strengths Finder is one. Human Design is another one that people use, or Enneagram. And anytime you take one of those tests, they're going to give you a profile about yourself. And in it, you can go through and highlight what resonates, what stands out, what feels true to you. And they are always chock full of strengths. And it's a great way to recognize strengths that you take for granted, because if it's easy for you, you think it's easy for everyone, but it's not. So that's another way that you can do that. Another way is you can make your own list of great qualities about yourself. So I like to set a timer or to put numbers down the side of the page and just make a list. I typically have my clients do 20. 20 is hard. It can be hard. Some people get to like 4 and think, I'm out, I'm done. And others, they can fill up the 20 pretty quickly, just depending on where you're at in self-awareness and your confidence. But it's such a fun challenge. And then another thing you can do that's very tangible is break down your work, volunteer, or school experiences, almost like a resume or a CV, and think about what you did, what you accomplished, how you did it. Again, something like Excel, or, I had a roommate once who felt like she wasn't talented at all, but I have never seen anyone, and even to this day, work a room to be able to go around a crowded room and make every single person she came in contact with feel so special. Such a talent, such a gift. And so every time she'd say, I'm not talented, I don't have any gifts, I was just looking at her like, you're crazy. You're crazy talented in a way that so few people are. So go ahead and it's hard to do it to yourself a little bit. That's why I do recommend having coaches, because coaches tend to see the best in you, even the best that you don't always see in yourself. But after you gather all of that raw information in whatever ways you decide to do it, you want to look through and see what themes have emerged. And these themes will stand out. Usually there's at least 3, if not up to 5 or 10 themes. And that's what makes you, you. That's what people see when they interact with you, even if you don't see it in yourself. But these are what make you stand out as a leader. This is what makes you stand out in any organization you're in, even your own family. And the sooner that you can own them and embody them and believe in them, the better off you're going to be. Because when you understand your secret sauce, which is what I call that little package of gifts that you have, that only you have, that's your secret sauce. It's your unique blend of talents, abilities, and experiences. And once you can own that and know what you have, you're in the next best place to do number 2, which is share your gifts. I'll be honest, it is really rare that someone will ask you to do something out, especially with my HR brain, my HR background. It's rare that someone will ask you to do something outside of your job description that you just happen to be passionate about. They are not going to realize. They are not going to know. We just want to get the jobs done. So it's really crucial that you bring all of you to work and you're open about who you are and what you love to do. So if you throw killer parties on the weekends, and that's something you would be interested in doing in the workplace, the next time an event is coming up, volunteer. Ask to do it. If you love numbers, and that's kind of in a different sphere from what you're doing, but there's a project where you just need to crunch the numbers and dive into that spreadsheet, volunteer. No one is going to know what you do best if you don't tell them and you don't share it. I started my career in sales. I channeled my love of teaching and creating into developing effective training programs. And this helped new sales reps ramp up their profitability in half the time. But it didn't happen by accident. It happened by going through probably the worst sales training I've ever experienced in my life. I was handed a book, like, memorize this book and get ready to talk to people about this complex medical procedure. And I did, and I got through it, but I just kept thinking, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And so I went to my supervisor and said, I think we can do this better, and I'd like to try. And she's like, let's do it. And we put together a team, and there were 4 of us, and we built this incredible training program that got people out there and selling in half the time. But it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't asked, if I hadn't made that suggestion, if I hadn't owned that I love to train and I love to teach and I'd like to be a part of that. I had trained in a previous position and I thought, well, I could do it here too. One of my clients was completely overwhelmed and frustrated with his job search. Even though he had a solid work experience and an MBA, he kept getting passed over. And he suspected, it wasn't confirmed, but he suspected that it was because English wasn't his first language. So we made one shift in his search approach. Instead of looking at companies where his foreign language, to us, a foreign language, would have maybe been a detriment, we flipped it and we looked for companies that really needed Portuguese speakers. He was Portuguese speaking, so really needed Portuguese speakers. Like, they desired exactly what he brought to the table. He thought it was a detriment. He was insecure about it, but we flipped that around, and very quickly, he had a job offer with a dream company that he could go ahead and get started, where they loved that Portuguese was his native language. So I want you to think now, get out your journal and think about some current holes or needs around you that you think your strengths could fill and that you could support. In whatever organization, however you're operating. And I didn't say this earlier, but self-leadership is a critical skill too. Sometimes, again, like we were saying, you see it first. You have to start by leading yourself first. So, but what needs do you see around you? What holes can you fill? What can you uniquely do? And make down just a few notes. The best lessons that we learn from a training like this are those thoughts and impressions that quietly come into our mind that may have nothing to do with what I'm actually training about. Write those down and follow those. Those are going to be your golden nuggets. That's going to take you somewhere. So before we go on to step 3, I want to do a quick exercise together. Think back to a specific event that you were invited to where there were a lot of people. and you didn't know very many of them. Maybe it was a conference, a training event, a networking event. Maybe it was gathering at a church, like a wedding or a funeral. It doesn't matter what. I want you to replay in your mind that you are walking into this event. And in this version, I want you to be alone, completely alone. You're going into this large event where you hardly know anyone. What are some of the thoughts going through your mind? There's really no right or wrong answers here. Just what are the thoughts? What were you thinking? You might be thinking, well, who am I going to sit with? I hope this is worth my time. I hate small talk. What am I doing here? I'd really just rather go home. And these are usually the common answers that I get, right? Most of the self-talk is me focused. Who am I going to sit with? What am I going to do? What if nobody wants to talk to me? And that's life. We walk around with a constant rattling in our head all about ourselves. But now I want you to think of a similar situation or event where you had a specific duty or an assignment. Maybe you were the organizer. Maybe you were checking people in or the greeter. Maybe it was your wedding. Maybe you were presenting or you were speaking at the event. And I want you to consider yourself as you're walking up to the event. What were your thoughts there? How was it different? When we have a role to play, it is so much easier to think about others, to stop thinking about ourselves and really focus on others, to contribute, to give more, and to do more. You can give yourself a role, and that's step number 3. Focus outwards. Don't wait until you're assigned a role. Don't wait until you're assigned something. Knowing your strengths and owning them means that you can sometimes give yourself a role. For example, if you're a great listener, maybe you decide to be a great listener at work. Be the one who notices if someone's having to offer a hard day. Express genuine interest in them and listen. If you're optimistic and enthusiastic, bring that life and energy into the projects you're working on and the rooms that you're meeting in. Declare yourself the cheerleader and start cheering. That happened to me recently. I tend to be a natural cheerleader, and I was put over the entire change management team. I don't have a background in change management, but I have spent the last year, and I'll spend the next 2 or 3 years leading change management for a large organization because I'm a natural cheerleader, because I'm naturally able to assess the needs of others and help shift them. So just showing up and focusing and contributing with your best skills can put you in positions that lead to incredible opportunities. When you stop focusing on yourself, you're actually going to feel better too. You'll contribute more and you are naturally going to stand out. Are you ready for number 4? Number 4, I like to call be the solution. It's really, really easy and very tempting to sit around pointing out all the problems and how things are done. Oh, this didn't work. Or, of course, that's not, I can't believe he said that. I've done it. We've all done it. But what if we were to make a conscious choice to be a part of the solution? Instead of waiting to be promoted or appointed, just looking for a doable solution. In The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey, it's a classic. I've read it a dozen times, and every time I learn something new. The one that really stood out to me recently was he tells the story of an organization headed by a very dynamic person, someone who could read trends. He was creative, talented, capable, and brilliant. But he had a dictatorial management style. He treated his people as if they didn't have judgment, and he didn't give them a space to make any of their own decisions, which is a huge flaw for senior leaders who are confident and capable in and of themselves. This naturally alienated the entire executive team, who gathered around and understandably complained about him. Every day there was a new story, a new issue, and a new, very valid complaint. But one of the executives read the situation differently. He wasn't blind to the president's weaknesses, but he chose to compensate for the weaknesses and buffer his own people in a way that made the weaknesses irrelevant. He focused on the president's strengths, his vision, his talent, and his creativity. He was treated like a gopher and he was talked down to, but he would do more than was expected. He anticipated the president's needs. He read with empathy the president's underlying concerns, and when he presented informations, he gave analysis that directly spoke to the president's concerns. The president in time began to use this man, not as a gopher, but as a trusted advisor. He was on a completely different trajectory than all of the people who were just standing around complaining. So ask yourself now, what solution does your team need? Not what they're asking for, not what they're writing down, but what do you see that they need? And how could you give more grace, i.e., spend less time complaining? And where can you show up powerfully to be that solution and to complement what's happening? And then step number 5, I like to call it build tomorrow today. So in our life, in our careers, and everything that we do, we're always, this is natural. We all do it. We're always looking for the next thing. I can't wait until I graduate from high school. Who said that? We all said that. I can't wait until I graduate from college. Again, we all said that. I can't wait until I get my first big job. I can't wait till I'm finally managing my own team. I can't wait until I get married. I can't wait until I make more money, go on my next vacation, until I'm retired. The benchmarks go on and on and on. There's always something. And that's exciting. Healthy anticipation is really exciting and fun to live for. But sometimes we get addicted to anticipating and we lose confidence and don't move forward, just waiting and just waiting. We don't get to experience what we're actually doing now. So this is an exercise that I love to do. And when you consistently practice it, it will change your life. And we'll just do it together quickly. But step 1, I want you to write down one thing you were waiting for and anticipating. So for me, I'm going on a trip in 2 months. I've got the countdown going and I'm so excited about it. I'm so excited to get away and explore. We'll be exploring Scotland. So that's my number 1. Write down one thing you are waiting for and anticipating. Maybe it's a career move, whatever it is, you just write it down. Number 2, ask yourself how you think it will feel when it happens. How will you feel when it happens? So for me, I love to travel. And when I travel, I go into this mode of exploring, like everything is new, even if I've been there before and exciting, and you're just out there to see and experience and taste the world. It's so, so fun. So for me, it's that exploring that I feel like an explorer. It's excitement, it's curiosity. And then the third step, once you've named it and you've described it, is to brainstorm ways you can feel that feeling now. So instead of just going into the same old restaurant I go to on the weekends, I could try something new. I could try a new flavor. I can step into something I've never done before. And then you want to go and do one of those things, because we don't have to wait until the next thing happens to feel it now. And it's the same way with leadership. If you're ready to lead and you're ready to lead your team and you don't have those opportunities yet, or you're leading your team and it's not feeling quite the way you wanted it to, how do you want it to feel? And what are some other ways you can begin to feel that way now? The truth is that the things that we want them for the way they're going to make us feel. So if you want to be confident, if you want to be promoted, or you just want to feel better about the leading that you're doing, you might have some insecurities. You might have some overwhelm. And just saying don't be insecure doesn't work. It's never worked for anyone. But learning how to really embody who you want to be and how you want to feel on a day-to-day basis will get you there. It's quantum leaping. It's going to get you there so much faster. Okay, so we have our 5 steps. How are you guys feeling? Just to circle back to the story I started with, I did accept the position that my boss offered me, and I was promoted and then promoted again and promoted again until I was directing 2 large teams and supporting the highest levels of leadership in my organization. But I have to confess that it was a rough and tumble way to learn. I made so many mistakes with my teams, with our stakeholders, with our executives. Too many mistakes. But you just get back up and you just keep going. In that time, I've also supported hundreds of leaders as they've learned and they've grown and they've made mistakes and they've refined it. Leadership really is a skill, and the only way to grow it is by diving in and starting to lead today. You don't have to wait for someone to promote you or to give you permission to lead. In fact, once you're promoted, you'll still feel a little tentative if you don't give yourself permission to lead. Others will see in you what you see in yourself. And there's no better time than to step up right now and start leading today. So hopefully you got something out of that. If you loved our time together and are interested in working with me further, there's a few ways you can do that. I am accepting applications to work with me one-on-one. Coaching is a powerful, life-changing experience. It's an investment in yourself, and it's an opportunity to have someone fully in your corner who sees the best in you, is your best cheerleader, and can help. Coaching with the way that I coach, it's bespoke. So it's very customized. And whether or not you need to talk about your personal life or your business life or your team, we can get strategic and down to tactics. We do that every day, but we can also talk about what's getting in the way in other parts of your life too. So if you're interested in partnering with me as a coach, you can shoot me an email at the same place that you got the link. Just reply back. Send me an email. You can also go to herleadershipcollective.com and book a leadership catalyst call. That's a free call I do with anyone who works with me to really see if we're a good fit for one another. And we can talk about those options there. Next month, on March 13th, Her Leadership Collective is launching a leadership playbook. And I'll be doing another free workshop before then and tell you a little bit more about it. And while coaching is mental and emotional and a really deep personalized experience, this playbook will be more of what I have my leaders do step by step, a step-by-step plan that you can implement and get immediate traction. Less mindset, more action. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, what can you do to make a difference and be a better leader today? So that will be launching soon, and I will send out some more emails and some more details on that so you can be a part of that if that's something you're interested in. Thank you so much. This was such a fun time together. Hopefully you learned something new and got something out of it. And I will talk to you soon.